Good afternoon. My name is Professor Harmon, and I'm a librarian at the Greg Graniteville Library. And today I'm going to be talking to you about resources for your English 396 Global Women Writers class. So, our goals for today are to find appropriate research for your assignments for this course and also know where and how to get further assistance. We were originally supposed to meet in person, but due to COVID-19 and the ensuing closures of the university as well as the library, we're not able to meet. And so I'm going to talk to you and really kind of gear this assignment or this session into really talking about a lot of the resources that you can access online as well as the support that you can get online. I like to begin all of my library sessions by first reviewing the assignment. And so, as I understand it for this class and what this library session is to support, is that you are going to have an annotated bibliography, which is your first assignment. And then after that, you are going to have a research paper. And so, the resources that you find in the annotated bibliography can also be used in your research paper. For the annotated bibliography, you need 4 sources minimum besides the work itself. So the actual work doesn't count as one of your 4 sources. You need 4 other sources. And so the other sources can be about the author. So you can have biographical works. You can also have works that discuss the work itself. So literary criticism. So things that analyze, critique, evaluate the literary criticism stuff. And then a core piece of this is to find works that aren't necessarily connected to the author or connected to the work, but help you better understand and contextualize the cultural or historical environment. So we kind of have 2 major research agendas here. Finding things on the author or the work is the first one. And then also finding things that talk about the cultural and historical elements kind of surrounding the time frame that the work is placed. So we also need to make sure that our resources are cited in MLA, especially for our annotated bibliography. And we also are not allowed to have reviews or summaries. So book reviews and summaries, even when you're in some of our library databases, you may run across a book review or some synopsis of the story. These are not very helpful because you've read the story. You understand the major plot elements. What you're looking for things that are going to help you dig a little bit deeper and understand things that you just don't know from reading the story itself. And one of the things I did want to point out is that biographical works are okay. And again, if you have any questions about the resources and what's appropriate, Dr. Smith is probably the best person. I'm always here to help you try to find some of those resources, but again, I would encourage you to look very closely at your assignment, its requirements, and then any questions about what is acceptable goes to Dr. Smith. Also, for this assignment, we are to focus on and use one of the 4 stories here. So either the House of Spirits, Purple Hibiscus, Celestial Bodies, or the Akatowicz. Now, before we begin our research, we need to make sure we are clear as to what our search terms are going to be. So for finding resources about the author and the work, that's pretty straightforward. One of the great things about literary criticism is you know something. You know the author and you know the name of the work. And those are going to be the foundational search terms for finding things about the author or things that are literary criticism. Now, the piece that's going to be a little bit more difficult is to find things about the cultural or historical elements that kind of surround your work. So to do this, I'm going to encourage that you brainstorm. And to do this, a lot of times I just have people sit down and brainstorm on a piece of paper different terms and concepts. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is to break out a piece of paper and then to go through and write down what some of the terms are that can help you achieving the different things that we're looking for. So for example, for the author name, and I'm just simply going to write down the name of the author. For finding literary criticism, I'm going to write down the author and the name of the work. And do know that when I go and I do my searches, sometimes I can just look for the name of the work, but also sometimes I can find literary criticism about the author, so maybe how they deal with, a different aspect of, symbolism or feminist approaches. And while it might not exactly talk about that work, understanding some of the literary criticism and how that author deals with stuff can be very helpful from a literary critique standpoint. Now, the other piece I'm going to encourage you to look at is the cultural and historical elements. And so brainstorming here, I'm just going to think about what were some of the big concepts that I ran across that might help me examine the cultural historical aspects a little bit more in depth. So for example, if I want to look at British imperialism, or maybe I wanted to look at British imperialism and the early slave trade, or British imperialism and slave trade or slavery. And if I want to dig a little bit deeper, I can either even identify the individual country. So in the case of this work, it's Suriname, and maybe look at how colonialism was the kind of history of colonialism in that country at that time. Before I show you all the different resources that might be helpful for this assignment, I did want to point out that if you are stuck and you're not finding what you expect to be finding, you can get help from a librarian. You can email us. I'm going to include my email at the very end of this, but you can also email us through our Ask a Librarian function on the library's homepage. And another thing that people really like is our chat. We have chat available 24 hours a day, Monday through Friday, and Saturday and Sunday, 8 a.m. to midnight. Now, we can't make one-on-one in-person appointments, but we can make virtual appointments. So if that's appealing to you, make sure you reach out to us and request an appointment, chat with us, or send us an email. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about recommended resources. Whether you're looking for literary criticism, biographical works, or historical or cultural works, there are certain places that are better than others for looking for these. For literary criticism, so things that analyze and critique that individual work, there are certain databases like MLA International Bibliography, Literary Reference Center, JSTOR, and the Library Catalog. If you're looking for biographical works, I highly recommend the Library Catalog. A lot of times biographies are published in larger book form, and a lot of literary criticism is actually also published in book form. Sometimes you can find biographical bits in journal articles, but really the strength of that is going to be in the Library Catalog. Now, when looking for historical and cultural materials, I'm going to recommend JSTOR, Project Muse, and history is another field that publishes very heavily in book form, and so the Library Catalog can be your friend for these as well. And the main entry point to all of these is going to be one of our research guides, and specifically the Literary Criticism Research Guide. Before I show you how to search through all these resources, I did want to point out how to log in off campus. If you haven't logged in off campus before and you are having problems, do make sure you reach out to one of us and we will try our best to be able to help you. If you are off campus and you click on a link, the first thing that's going to happen is it's going to ask you to log in with network username and password. Click that link and then you're going to see the login page. Once you get to the login page, you're going to need to log in with your USC network username and password. And so what this effectively is the first part of your email. So I'm Deborah T at usca.edu. So I put in Deborah T for the network username. And then instead of my email password, I'm actually going to put in my Blackboard password. So the first part of my email before the @ and then my Blackboard password, and that should get me in. And again, if you're not able to get in, make sure you reach out to one of us and ask a librarian. So to access library resources, first I'm going to go to the USC Aiken homepage at usca.edu, and then I can either access the library by scrolling over Academics, and then under Academic Resources, selecting the library. Alternately, I can scroll down the page. In the very center, we have a little button down here that says Greg Graniteville Library. And once I click on that, that's going to take me to the library homepage. And this is going to be my main portal and access point for the library resources as well as the online help sources. If I do need help, I want to chat with a librarian, I want a virtual appointment, I'm going to click on the Ask a Librarian button here, and that's going to take me to the main page for that. I'm first going to show you how to access our books, and since we're not able to actually physically go into the library, I'm going to show you how to access our electronic books. Remember, books are helpful for biographical, literary criticism, as well as for historical and cultural. So to access the ebooks and limit my search to that, I'm first going to click on Advanced Search. And the first thing I'm going to do is enter in the name of my author. And then in order to limit my search to ebooks, I'm going to go under Material Type, scroll all the way down to ebooks, select that, and then hit Submit. Here I'll see a number of results come back. Again, I'm not looking for stuff written by the author, but things about the author. So this is a great work to show me perhaps biographical work. So I'm going to open up the name of the book. And then you can always connect to an ebook through the middle of the page under the Connect To option. I'm going to connect to Aiken from eBook Central. If I was off campus, I would have to log in at this point. And that's going to take me into the electronic book. Here I can click to read the book online. I do not recommend downloading the book because it requires you download a bunch of software and create some accounts. But if I read the book online, I can either go through and make it a little bit smaller, a little bit bigger. Then I can also create a PDF of the individual page. And then on the left-hand side, you will note that I can either navigate through the different chapters, or alternately, I can search for full text within the individual book. That is a super quick overview of how to access an ebook. Again, if you're having problems, make sure you reach out and ask a librarian. The rest of your sources are going to be on a research guide. So if you click the third tab over that says Research Guides, the Research Guide for Literary Criticism is going to be your best portal for all the rest of the databases. So once I choose a Literary Criticism Research Guide and I get to its homepage, I'm actually going to click on the third tab over that says Find Articles, and these are going to be the best recommended databases for this assignment. You'll notice that some for literary criticism, like MLA International Bibliography, but then our friend JSTOR is also literary criticism, but it also contains stuff for that literary historical cultural aspect. So first I'm going to look at MLA International Bibliography. And if I'm looking for literary criticism, I'm going to type in the author as well as the name of the story and then hit search. And then when my results come back, I'll notice that I have a number of resources. This one, for example, is available full text PDF through this database. So to access the PDF, all I need to do is click on the name of the article, and then I can either open up the PDF over here and then read the full text of the article. And then I have a couple of options to save it. I can either hit the down arrow button and save it to my desktop, or I can email it to myself. Do note that these databases have a cite this function. Do not trust the cite this function as they make lots of errors. Sometimes in our results set, we see these things called full text finder. What that effectively means is that the full text is not immediately available in this database, but may be available through another one of our databases. So I encourage you to click on full text finder. And then that page is going to open up a new tab that's going to try to bridge us to the full text in another one of our databases. If we have it available full text in another one of our databases, we'll see this Get Full Text, and it'll have a direct link to the article in another one of our databases where we can download it. Now, if you do not see Get Full Text, you may want to skip over it because due to the COVID-19 closures, we're not able to fill any of the interlibrary loan requests. The other database that I wanted to show you was JSTOR. JSTOR has literary criticism in it, but it is also our best historical and cultural database. One of the other great things about JSTOR is most everything is available full text in here. And so to access it, simply click on JSTOR, and then I'll be taken into the search box, and then I'm going to put my search terms in the middle here. So looking back at my search terms, I wanted to find something on the historical stuff on Suriname and colonialism, so I typed those in, and I'm going to hit search. And what's going to come back are journal articles that discuss that. And so, for example, if I want to see Suriname's cultural memory of crown and knife, what I can do is I can either open up the name of the article here, and it's going to pull up a preview, but I also will need to download the individual article. So I'm going to click Download PDF, accept the terms and conditions, and then it's going to pull me back the full text PDF of the article. One of the things I really like about JSTOR is it always has this cover page which has all of the essential information you're going to need to be able to complete your citations, and then that will follow with the full text of the article. Now to save this, I'm going to go over here and hit the down arrow, and that's going to allow me to download the article to my computer. This concludes my quick overview of library resources in support of your English 396 class. Again, if you have questions, make sure you reach out and ask a librarian via chat or email. You can also email me directly at deborah.t@usca.edu. Happy searching!